It was a bright and sunny day in Dallas, Texas, November 22, 1963. Crowds of people lined the streets, waving flags and cheering as the motorcade slowly rolled through Dealey Plaza. In the back seat of a sleek 1961 Lincoln Continental convertible sat the most powerful man in the world, President John F. Kennedy, smiling, waving, full of life and charisma. But within seconds, everything changed. 3 shots shattered the calm afternoon air, and in a moment of horror broadcast across the nation, the President of the United States slumped forward, blood staining his crisp suit. America froze. The world gasped, and history would never be the same. The death of President John F. Kennedy wasn't just an assassination. It was a defining moment that shook an entire generation. It changed how Americans viewed their government, their security, and even their trust in truth itself. What really happened that day? Who was truly responsible? And why, decades later, are we still haunted by the mystery of JFK's death? Let's go deep into the story of one of the darkest days in American history, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the man behind the legend. In November 1963, JFK and First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy traveled to Texas for a series of political appearances aimed at uniting the Democratic Party for the upcoming 1964 election. Dallas, however, was a city divided. Just weeks earlier, a local protest had turned violent against U.S. officials. Some warned that the president's trip was risky. But Kennedy, confident and always eager to connect with people, refused to cancel. On the morning of November 22nd, Kennedy appeared in Fort Worth to greet an enthusiastic crowd. Then, he and Jackie boarded Air Force One for a short flight to Dallas, where thousands of cheering citizens awaited. Jackie looked stunning in her iconic pink Chanel suit, a symbol of elegance that would soon be stained with tragedy. The assassination. At 12:30 p.m., the presidential motorcade entered Dealey Plaza. Kennedy sat beside his wife, waving to the crowd, with Texas Governor John Connally and his wife seated in front of them. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the plaza. Then another, and another. In a horrifying instant, one bullet struck Kennedy in the upper back, exiting through his throat. A second hit Governor Connally. The third, the fatal shot, struck Kennedy in the head. Jackie screamed, lunging toward her husband as the car sped toward Parkland Memorial Hospital. Despite frantic efforts by doctors, at 1 p.m., John F. Kennedy was pronounced dead. He was just 46 years old. The nation was in shock. Television networks interrupted regular programming. Anchorman Walter Cronkite's voice trembled as he delivered the news live. From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official. President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. The United States and the world mourned. The arrest of Lee Harvey Oswald. Just 70 minutes after the assassination, Dallas police arrested a man named Lee Harvey Oswald, a 24-year-old former Marine and known communist sympathizer. Oswald had recently defected to the Soviet Union and then returned to the U.S. with his Russian wife. He was found in a movie theater after allegedly killing a police officer who had tried to question him. The rifle used in the assassination, a Mannlicher Carcano, was discovered in the Texas School Book Depository where Oswald worked. The case seemed closed. But things were far from simple. Oswald denied all charges, declaring, "I'm just a patsy." Yet before he could stand trial, something shocking happened. The murder of Oswald. 2 days later, on live television, as Oswald was being transferred from the Dallas police station to the county jail, a nightclub owner named Jack Ruby stepped forward from a crowd and shot Oswald point blank in the stomach. Millions of Americans watched in horror as the accused assassin collapsed, dying shortly after. Ruby claimed he killed Oswald out of anger and grief for the president, but his actions only deepened the mystery. Why did he do it? Was he silencing Oswald? Or was there more to the story than anyone realized? The Warren Commission and the official story. To calm the chaos, President Lyndon B. Johnson, who had been sworn in aboard Air Force One just hours after the assassination, created the Warren Commission, led by Chief Justice Earl Warren, to investigate the killing. After nearly a year of investigation, the Warren Commission released its report in 1964. The conclusion shocked many. Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. According to the report, Oswald fired 3 shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. 1 missed, 1 wounded both Kennedy and Connally, and 1 fatally struck the president. The report introduced what became known as the single bullet theory, suggesting that 1 bullet caused multiple wounds in both Kennedy and Connally. but many experts and citizens found it hard to believe. How could one bullet do so much damage? Why were so many witnesses sure they heard shots from multiple directions? And why did so many key pieces of evidence seem unclear or missing? Conspiracy theories and questions that never died. Over the decades, doubts about the official story have only grown. Countless investigations, documentaries, and books have explored what really happened that day, and whether Oswald was truly the lone gunman. Some believe the CIA was involved, suggesting Kennedy's plans to reduce U.S. involvement in Vietnam and his tense relationship with the intelligence community made him a target. Others suspect the mafia, claiming the Kennedy brothers' crackdown on organized crime led mobsters to retaliate. Another theory points to the Soviet Union or Cuba, given Oswald's communist ties and Kennedy's handling of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Then there are those who think it was an inside job, a military or government conspiracy to remove a president seen as too idealistic, too soft on communism, or too willing to challenge the establishment. Even official government reviews years later, like the House Select Committee on Assassinations in 1979, concluded that there was likely a second gunman and that Kennedy probably was assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. Yet despite all the investigations, no conclusive proof has ever emerged to fully explain what happened. The impact on America. The assassination of John F. Kennedy left deep scars on the American psyche. It shattered the country's sense of innocence and optimism. For many, Kennedy represented hope, a new vision for the future. His death marked the end of that hope and the beginning of a darker, more cynical era. The event also changed how Americans viewed their government. The lack of transparency, conflicting reports, and unanswered questions fueled decades of distrust in official narratives. In many ways, November 22, 1963, marked not just the death of a president, but the death of American idealism. Jackie Kennedy and the legacy. Through it all, Jacqueline Kennedy remained a symbol of grace and strength. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy changed history forever. It wasn't just the loss of a leader, it was the loss of innocence, trust, and hope for millions. Even today, decades later, the echoes of those 3 gunshots in Dallas still haunt the world. The questions remain, the debates continue, and the truth, perhaps, remains just out of reach. But one thing is certain. John F. Kennedy's legacy, his words, and his vision for a better America will never die. If you found this story intriguing and want to explore more untold mysteries of history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because there's always more to uncover behind the headlines of the past.